On today's show, we do a deep dive into the impact method. This is the 6 steps to creating a thriving culture. When I go out and I deliver my keynotes, or I do impact presentations, or even small group leadership workshops, this is the foundation, is that impact method and going through those 6 steps in order, or jumping from one to the other. This is what has really been a game changer for so many organizations, to just know where to start and know where they're headed. And so I'm excited for you to learn more. Welcome back to What If It Works, a podcast helping you lead people and get fueled with action steps to take to create a thriving culture for your people. Whether those people work with you, live in your home, or are in a relationship with you, there is a way for you to create a culture where you and others thrive. Today, we are starting at the beginning. I'm going to explain the impact method. This is my proprietary system to help you go from where you are now to having a thriving culture. And I truly believe that there are 6 steps to go through to really build, nurture, and continually secure that thriving culture for your people. Before we get into the actual method, I want to take you on a quick journey of where this even started. In March of 2020, right before the pandemic hit, I had the incredible opportunity to go take a 3-day sales training. Side note, if you are in sales, in any shape of that word, which by the way, you are, because you are a human being and you are leading people, go follow The Guide Culture on Instagram and check out their podcast, The School of Sales. You will not regret it. Dynamite information, tactical steps and skills, and so much growth happened through this experience of being in person with them in March of 2020, but also going through their sales course. So little plug for them, as they have literally put me on a trajectory that I did not even see for myself. And that's kind of where I want to start. I went to this sales training. My goal was to sell more skincare. I was in a network marketing business, and I was selling skincare, and I had just walked away from my full-time teaching job, and I was working with a nonprofit and really wanting to grow my own business with skincare. And at that time, I really felt like I was lacking in sales skills. And when I went to the Guide Culture training down in Alpharetta, Georgia, my life forever changed. We had to sell something that wasn't what we sold. So instead of selling skincare at this event, I had to sell something else that I was really passionate about. And I ended up selling a training for individuals to create classroom cultures where kids could thrive. Now, if you're new here, what I do now is I help schools, but also businesses and organizations create thriving cultures where their people can thrive. And so this started as something for educators that's really blossomed into all people can create environments where their people can thrive, and they just need to know the steps to get there, which is where the impact method came from. Now, while at the sales training, we had talked about walking your customers through a process, and I really took that to heart. When I came home and started brainstorming on my content and what I wanted to create and how I wanted to help people create thriving cultures, I realized I needed them to start with themselves. Originally, the impact method, the I, which is an acronym, impact is an acronym, the I stood for I. Like I, myself. And really what I wanted to drive home in that point was that we have to start with ourselves. On any journey, getting a culture switched over into a positive, thriving, safe, inclusive culture, it starts with one person taking ownership and accountability over their own actions. And so that's why originally Impact started with I. And my entire module was a mindset module. And it really focused on the person and the individual leading, who they were as a person, who they wanted to be as a leader, what actions they wanted to take, and then really thinking about how you cannot help others grow until you are starting on that growth journey. However, as I was test running my impact method, I ended up getting connected to some staff development coordinators for schools, and I piloted my impact method and my training. I got done and they said, the only one that doesn't fit is the I. So all your other words are actions. They're all verbs, and the I is not. So I would really have you think about changing the I. And so I did. One more fun fact about the impact method is it came together in an hour. This is how much I had been thinking about thriving cultures. This is how much I was convicted on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to say, that within 1 hour, I wrote down all the ideas I had. I put them in order of how I wanted people to implement them. And then within 60 minutes, I had realized that all of the letters spelled impact other than the I. And so I had added the I as in that mindset work. And it was wild. Those of you who have created a product before and needed to name it, or, have created a process and you're looking for something that's catchy and all that good stuff, all of this funneling down and getting extremely clear within 1 hour was just miraculous. And I really attest it to how convicted I was in what I wanted to build and create. So let's get to it. What does impact stand for? So I'm going to go over these quickly and then I'll go into each of them in depth. It starts with investigate, model, problem solve, appreciate, cultivate, and transform. And what you're going to find on this podcast is that each episode will have a piece from those different modules. So if you already listened to one of the earlier episodes, I mentioned that it went through investigate and model. And so each of them will have a link to that impact method. And so let's go through it. What are your 6 steps to creating a thriving culture? I truly believe that you cannot start from anywhere other than investigating. And so investigate is first. This is where you investigate yourself, you investigate your leadership style, you investigate other leaders that you work with, you investigate your employees, you investigate your team members, you investigate the culture that you want to build, you investigate your current culture, obviously first, and you really get into that thought process of what is going on and what do we want. A lot of times I use the analogy of creating a thriving culture is like going on a weight loss journey or a health journey, right? When you do that, you get started. And sometimes you're just like, I need to be healthier. And you just start. But you don't even know where you're going. You don't have those goals. You don't have a vision. You're just like, I need to lose weight, the end. However, the best and most successful journeys have a point they want to get to, whether that be a checkpoint or a final goal. And they can then analyze and attribute and see their successes as they go because they know where they're going. And I will tell you the same is in creating a thriving culture. You need to know, what does a thriving culture look like? What does it sound like? What will it feel like for you, for your team? If you're talking about a thriving culture at home, what does this look like for your spouse? What does it sound like in the kitchen? What does it sound like at bedtime? What does it sound like in discussions in the car? That is where you get started. So you need to start with investigating who you are, who you want to become, where you are, where you want to go, or what type of culture you have and what type of culture you want. And so you'll hear in future podcast episodes just what questions to ask and how to really dive into that. There's going to be a couple where we actually workshop this idea of investigation, and I ask you a series of questions. So stay tuned for that. After we investigate what we want, we have a vision, we know where we want to go, we need to start looking at our own actions. This is the M, model. You cannot tell me that you want a culture where people don't talk behind others' backs, that people are respectful to one another, when you may be the ringleader of that type of culture. So the M makes us take a pause and we think about, what are we modeling and what do we need to model to get the culture that we want? And it really puts it on us. And again, this is why that original I stood for I, because I need to model what I want before I can expect anyone else. And I don't know if you guys have heard this from Gary Vee, but Gary Vee says whatever passion and excitement and what you bring into your business, you bring in 100%, your employees are going to give you about 50% of that. So I want you to think about that with modeling. If you are modeling clear communication, if you are modeling respect, if you are modeling a safe workspace, potentially your employees are modeling that at 50% of what you are. So if you're walking in the break room and you're having conversations about your secretary, or you're walking into the break room and you're having conversations about another department in the company, other people are modeling that. That's what they are seeing from their leader. So you really need to start with you and modeling your actions. I have a few techniques that I teach that go through how to model appropriately, how to get really clear on your expectations, how to raise the bar with your expectations and have other people want to join you when they reach that expectation bar, and then go even further beyond that. I have a system I like to call vision casting that helps your employees or your team understand where they're headed and how their actions make a difference. So stay tuned for some of that. If you want even more in depth on this impact method, by the way, I'm just going to do a quick plug for this. There is a course right now online, I'll put this in the show notes, called Lead with Impact, where I walk you through step by step investigating your culture, how to model, and then one piece of each of the other modules. So problem solve, appreciate, cultivate, and transform. So if that is something you're interested in, head to the show notes, click on that link, and you can go download that course. You can use it whenever it works for you. And the reason for that is I know as leaders, we are all extremely busy. So having a course kind of in our back pocket that we can pull from and go through on our own time is so, so valuable. So go check out Lead with Impact, the course. There will be a Lead with Impact 2.0 coming out shortly. So you might see that when you get there as well. But we got to be modeling what we expect out of others. And if we're not, that's where you need to start. Next up is problem solve. Now, my favorite quote that I've been using since I started presenting is, problems take up the amount of time you give them. So if you are spending all your time thinking about a problem and stressing about a problem, and months and months and months go by, that's because you've given that problem that power. So instead, in the problem solve module, we want to solve problems quickly, efficiently, and respectfully. We want to teach others, that modeling, how to problem solve. And we want to do that with everyone's intentions, best intentions in mind. And so during the problem solve module, we really look at how to have clear conversation, how to get to the problem itself. So instead of us trying to solve 50 things at once, what is the actual problem we're going to sit down and solve today? There is the 3A method that walks you through 3 steps on how to solve problems quickly and effectively. That module is really about building other people up, helping them see their value while solving some of your company or culture problems at the same time. This is one that I just want to shout from the rooftops because I think a lot of our stress in life comes from problems that come up and we just don't expect them to come up, right? That's what they say about marriages, right? Like the reason marriages fail is expectation. We just expect everything is going to go so well, and that's just not true. Okay. We are humans and we are going to have problems. We are going to cause problems. We are going to solve problems. And so the faster we can do that, the less stress that you have, and the more we can empower others to do the same, making the workplace or the home or your relationships just a really great place to be. The A in impact stands for appreciate. And this is one that I just feel is so missing in the workplace. People, humans, want to feel appreciated. They do. Now, they don't all want to feel appreciated in the same way necessarily, but it is a human desire to be appreciated. And so we need to remember that as leaders, it is so easy to appreciate the skills and the time and the energy that our people bring to the table. And I recently sat down with a business owner, and he was questioning a lot of things that I was presenting on. And at one point he said, Anne, I don't have time or energy to walk around the office and tell people I appreciate them. And I literally looked him in the eye and I said, how many seconds does it take to say thank you for, and then whatever action they just took? And he rolled his eyes at me and he was like, 10 seconds? I was like, ooh, that would kind of be a long appreciation. But yeah, 10 seconds. If you can give 10 seconds per day, per employee, how incredible would your staff feel? If, by the way, all appreciation needs to be heartfelt and not fake. People can spot fake appreciation a mile away. So if you are out there giving fake appreciation, stop now. Stop now. Stop saying, thanks for all your work today if you don't actually appreciate it. Okay, make sure that we are giving actual appreciation out that we feel truly has helped us in some way, or helped the business or helped the home in some way, shape, or form. Because that is a very quick way that you can break trust, is stating appreciation that's just not real. And people are pretty receptive to that. So during the Appreciate module, we talk all about how to value others, what actions you can take to show your value to others, how, again, you can model appreciation so it does come back to you. We all feel good when we are told that our work makes a difference. And so there are very specific things that we work through in the Appreciate module, very specific strategies that are going to help build people up, make them feel valued, which helps them feel like they are a part of a thriving culture. The C stands for cultivate. And now I know some of you are going to tell me, Anne, I don't want to have relationships with my staff. I don't want to build relationships. Stop telling me that. And let me tell you, it's not about relationships, about being buddy or asking people about their weekend and listening to their 30-minute story. That is not what this is about. Cultivating human connections is what drives so many people. This is why we have a health crisis in our nation right now, is because so many people do feel isolated and they are missing that true connection. So during the the Cultivate Connections module, it's all about how to cultivate a relationship of trust, how to cultivate a safe space, how to cultivate connections between others, how to cultivate an environment where people feel welcomed, open to be themselves, right? And that's what we really want in our spaces, is we want people to be able to thrive and feel that they can thrive. And if they don't feel they can, they won't. So we really need to work during this Cultivate section to create an actual physical space. Even if you are doing a lot of work virtually, right? Telecommuting, You are still cultivating a team culture. And so there is a way to do that in a really positive way so that people respond positively. The T stands for transform. And I just want you to know that there is a way for you to transform your culture, but it can't happen on Monday. We can't listen to this podcast and then say, you know what? On Monday, I'm going to go cultivate a new thriving culture. That is why the T is after we learn all the steps, after we figure out what we can be doing and how we can be impacting others, the T, transform, is really about consistency. What can you be doing consistently to nurture a thriving culture? And so the T is really about the action steps you're going to take to not only get started, not only set yourself up for success, but set others up for success, and then continually come back to what actions you're taking and that consistency that you are giving out to your staff. People thrive in consistent environments. And so how can we be building that so that they know that they're in a safe space to continue to learn and grow? And that takes time. I think that's the worst part about this is creating a thriving culture doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week. It happens over time. Now, I have seen big changes happen in 1 week. But I have also seen where it takes months to really shift that culture into a positive, thriving, growing space. And so transform is all about continually going through the motions to build that culture and not really looking at an endpoint. It's not like, oh, I get to T and I'm done. Absolutely not. And that is my favorite part of the impact method, is that at any point today, you could take a look at what your culture is doing and you would say, okay, let's investigate. And you can start at the top. You can realize that as you're investigating, we got a big problem, and you can jump down to the P. Then as you're problem solving, you might realize, wow, you know what? The problem is we're unclear on the expectations, and some staff are not moving, seeing momentum and not taking action because they're unclear. So I'm going to go back up to M, and I'm going to model what I want from them. I'm going to appreciate it when I see it, and I'm going to consistently do this under transform. So that is my favorite part of this 6-step system, is it doesn't necessarily go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can go 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, 3, 6. Right? And you can jump around with the letters with what you need. And that's what I absolutely love, is that there is space for you to pause, think, and then there's action steps to take within the impact method for you to grow that thriving culture. If you just listened to that and you were like, no, Anne, I do not want to wait for you to drop one action step within each one module, each podcast, then you are going to head over to the Lead with Impact course held over on the Thinkific site. Check out that course, dive in. It is extremely interactive. There's a workbook that you follow with it, and there is a challenge for you at the end of each module so that you can stay in the information. There's a way for you to interact with me so that I can help you along, talk through some of the challenges that you're running into, but also celebrate your successes. So jump on over there and check that out. And if not, just get ready. This podcast is going to be full of those action steps that you can take to just really start to build that culture that you want, where you know that you and others can thrive. Thanks for being here. Please feel free to send this podcast to anyone you think that would be strongly impacted by it. What I love about communities of leaders is that we are not only here for ourselves, but we are here to help others at the same time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for thinking through how you can set yourself and others up for success. But also, thank you for connecting this with other people so that they can really have this experience to change their life. And as always, head on over to Instagram at Ann Vogt. Look for that episode 3 graphic and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing what you guys are taking away from each episode and growing this community of leaders where we make an impact.